Quite a busy fighter.
Seconds out,
Paraschiv,
round one.
and keen to get on the front foot. He almost raced across the ring, and you're going to hear his fans throughout this one. They're going to be noisy and boisterous.
And he's definitely looking to make an impression here, isn't he? As you said, he's built himself mainly in Romania. He's had a kickboxing background as well. It'll be interesting to see if that translates to how he fights, because often what you see is somebody who stands quite upright and lets their hands go. Basically, that's the remnants of that style often. And you look at Eboigbe, and he is in fantastic shape, isn't he?
He is, and he's a guy who understands his role and knows how to do it. So he's in here tonight to give Paraschiv some rounds, but like we saw in one of the undercard fights earlier, when we were before the main program started, we had a sort of journeyman fighter, Nicaraguan, who came out of the blocks, Darwin Martinez, and fancied the win. And if Eboigbe fancies the win, he can do it. He upset a young prospect last July, stopped him actually in 4 rounds, Tom Galbraith, who I think is due to come back but hasn't fought since. So he's got the ability to turn it on the night, and if not, he knows how to look after himself in there as well. So Paraschiv is going to have to work this out. He's going to have to work this guy out, and he might have to do it a few different routes.
He got caught by a nice long left hand, actually, Paraschiv, about 20 seconds or so ago. Before that, he'd done some good work himself as Eboigbe was looking to come forward. He clipped him with a couple on the inside. So this is shaping up pretty nicely, actually, as we head towards the final minute of round one.
He's got a busy style, Paraschiv. And maybe just trying to ruffle up Eboigbe, which I don't think is easily done. Uzanaz caught him a couple of times with a roundhouse right, and he exploded into that one, timed it absolutely perfectly.
He puts everything into it too, because it was just above us and he threw it and stepped through with his right foot, ended up as a southpaw, and then threw a big left hand from the southpaw stance. So he's not messing around, is he, Paraschiv? When he throws, he really does throw. And Eboigbe, for his part, he's got to give him something to think about, because, like you said, he's good at getting through the rounds. He knows how to do it, and there are different ways to do it, but just tucking up and trying to survive against someone who's fighting like this is hard work. You've got to put a bit of doubt in their mind.
Completely different physiques as well, haven't they? I mean, it's different types of bodies. They weighed in exactly the same, bang on 154. Look at them up there in the ring, and you can't quite believe they are. But he's got a bull-like strength, Paraschiv. He comes from a kickboxing background, and he's got that sort of centre of gravity and solidity about him as well. That physicality that he brings from that sport, where he had quite a long and distinguished career. Well, thankfully we're still in spring. It's been a warm day, warm Mother's Day, sunny, warm day, 17 degrees in London. But
Corners, 10
here
seconds.
we are in the spring, quite a few months away from the summer, where the nights in
Seconds
York
out.
can get
Round
sweaty
2.
and hot and boisterous, Andy.
This place can be absolutely unbelievable, can't it, in summer? I remember one a couple of years ago. Fraser Clark was top of the bill against Marius Vac, and the temperatures were just through the roof, because with these old borough buildings, basically, I don't think they've got any real control over the heating. I think it just runs kind of all year round, and so in the summer it is just like a greenhouse.
Paraschiv trying to heat things up for Eboigbe. He looks quite controlled and composed and measured, as we said. His record underlines that. Not an easy guy to budge. So you're going to have to earn your stripes here if you're going to attempt to bowl him over in any which way. We're counting down for a top of the bill. We've got some good stuff still to come. Laura Payne making a debut on DAZN, formerly on Team GB, still to come. She could be a budding star of the future. We know Kevin Ajarko's got a ton of talent, highly ranked. He's on the comeback trail, looking to make waves as well. And then our top of the bill, Konstantin Urshu against Ethan James for the Commonwealth title, the welterweight title, and maybe a step towards the British with Conor Walker, of course, the reigning champion there, who's been in good fight after good fight. So that's all still to come here on DAZN tonight.
He's struggling to really close the gap here, Paraschiv.
Yeah, he's trying to change the angles and tempt, almost feinting with the body. He's dipping down, moving his shoulders. He's trying to tempt Eboigbe into making a mistake, maybe leading off so he can counter him. It is a game of chess and questions at the moment.
It's the first time I've seen Eboigbe, and you just look at the way that he's set up. He's a southpaw. We mentioned the condition that he's in, but you just look at his all-round fundamentals, and they're pretty good, to be honest. He's not going to fall for anything obvious. He doesn't really lose his shape. His feet, for the most part, are underneath him. He got caught by a right hand there, but was just pulling back, so took the sting off it. And I think you're right. I think the only way that you can get too much done here if you're Paraschiv is if you tempt him into something. You've got to try and make him take a few chances. Otherwise, you're just going to box the rounds here. It'll be easy to get frustrated against a guy like this.
Sure, especially when you've got the fans who've come to support you, as they do in numbers for Paraschiv. Nearly picked off there as he was coming forward. He's looking to get physical. The Eboigbe, who again just managed to tie him up towards the end of the round. So I think Andy's right. Big Marvin Turner in the corner there with Paraschiv, and they'll be trying to get him to keep his head right, but it's the blend of tactics that's going to be the difficult thing to employ, Andy, for him.
It is, and we say this quite often. It's a cliche, but cliches are repeated for a reason. It's one of those fights where, particularly, you just go about your business, you try and stick to the plan, and just see what happens, really. Because as the cliche goes, if you look for the stoppage, it makes it less likely to come, and that is true. Because if you try and force it, particularly against somebody
Corners,
like this, then you could potentially come undone a little bit, not necessarily to the extent that you'll lose the fight, but to the extent that you'll begin to look a little bit clumsy, a little bit desperate, maybe. Just chip away, and see what happens.
And I wonder, as we move into the third, is there a point in this where Eboigbe thinks, do you know what? Maybe I could put my foot down and go and win this tonight. Or does he think the phone might not ring again next week and the week after and the week after that? That is part of the business.
It is, and what you see happens sometimes, don't you? On that score, with that kind of equation in mind, is somebody will do their thing for 4 rounds, and they're 4 rounds down, and then they'll think, okay, last couple of rounds, I'm going to really take it to you. Because then they can show everybody what they can do, leave people thinking at the end of the fight, I think he might be the better fighter, you know, but they've lost. And the phone keeps ringing.
It's a delicate balance for the away opponent, for sure. We had a fight on the undercard earlier on before you joined us on DAZN, a guy called Darwin Martinez up against an unbeaten prospect, Zach Fee, who's 6-0. Well, Martinez wasn't worried about the phone ringing next week. He wasn't bothered at all. He came out trying to give Fee absolute hell. And this is a guy who's sort of lost 28 fights of his 38, but he was absolutely terrific. So it'll be interesting to see what balance Eboigbe wants to tread tonight, and also what Paraschiv can do. Can he entertain some doubt in the mind of Eboigbe? Just landed a straight body shot there, right hand. maybe a starting point.
That was decent from Paraschiv. He just got a little bit closer. He dipped his knees and just sent that right hand straight into the body. The body looks pretty formidable for Eboigbe, but appearances can be deceptive sometimes. And a well-placed body shot, it doesn't matter who you are or how many crunches you've done, it can put somebody down or certainly take some gas out of that tank. He's the kind of fighter, Eboigbe, where you would really like to see what might happen if he was really ambitious, because he throws some good straight punches. He was short with that left hand there, but there are some really good basic tools there.
Well, there are always going to be stories of what might have been, I suppose. I could have been a contender, but there's no doubt there are guys like Eboigbe who have the abilities to go further, but for whatever reason, oftentimes it's money, maybe it's backing and managerial, promotional or whatever, that it is more lucrative, it is more sensible, it's more practical to be on the other side of bills, and he's probably one of those guys. I was looking back, I think this week in history, Peter Buckley, who went on to become one of the greatest journeymen of all time in British rings, I think in this week in history he won like his 7th fight out of about 8 or 9. So at that stage he was the prospect, and then of course he flipped sides and went on to have 300 amateur fights. Something like 280 of them were probably losing fights, but he became one of the greatest other guys in a British ring.
Yeah, he did, and he was a good amateur. You speak to people in Birmingham, and Peter Buckley was a good amateur. When he turned pro, he definitely had some ambition. He did win an area title at one point. But when you look at records, what you quite often see, don't you, is someone who's obviously boxing out of the home corner, then all of a sudden they just switch to the away corner. Often it's because they've had a poor result against someone they were obviously supposed to beat, and maybe the promoter sits them down and just says, listen, selling tickets is a tough grind, that wasn't great, why don't you think about the away corner? You don't have to sell any tickets, you answer the call and you can make a really good living, but the trade-off is you have to kind of manage your own pride, don't you, basically, to be able to do an effective job.
Indeed. Particularly on nights where you think maybe you are better or could be better. The difficulty tonight for Paraschiv is getting those feet closer, Andy, and the timing of the attacks.
That's exactly it, because Eboigbe, as we said, has got pretty good fundamentals. He's got a long reach on him. He's good at taking the feet out. So it's two phases of attack I think you really need here, because Paraschiv is backing him up, but then I think he probably needs to go again.
And there might be people watching just thinking, well, you know, Paraschiv just full steam ahead, put the foot down. It's about energy, but not always as straightforward as that. He is standing off. There's a little bit of uncertainty there, isn't there, about how to go about this.
I think Eboigbe is just a bit too good for that, isn't he? He's a bit too good for that, because every now and again we've seen him look for that really kind of long left uppercut, and it hasn't been too far away. He just pivots smartly around that front foot.
Landed a couple of eye catchers there to unleash a few oohs and ahs. There might just be a bit of a blemish on the right cheek of Paraschiv.
I think there's a cut somewhere. I don't know if it's in the eyebrow or just a little bit higher maybe, but there's blood coming from there.
There's certainly a smear down the cheek, but I think Andy's right. It might be actually the side of the right eye. Maybe hone in on that for you at some stage, but it'll just add to slight frustration. And there you can see Eboigbe was standing on his lead foot as well. So often can happen in these situations with a southpaw and an orthodox fighter, and suddenly it's Eboigbe who's on the front foot with his tail up.
I think it's on the eyelid almost. I think it's under the eyebrow, on the eyelid, fairly central, because you can just see him dabbing at the eye every now and again. That's a good combination for Paraschiv, but I wonder if we'll get a look at it in the corner, because it doesn't look great, to be honest. It's not bleeding loads, so I don't think it's a threat to the fight, although we'll have completed 4 rounds at the end of this anyway. But that's something for him to contend with, definitely, because the blood's running into the eye there.
And it's just incentivised Eboigbe, hasn't it? He has got a little bit of a spring in his step when he saw that blood. Although it did allow Eboigbe coming forward, being a bit more adventurous, it did allow Paraschiv to just time him. And he landed a few more eye-catching shots, actually, in that round, more so than perhaps before.
So a couple left here. I'd be really interested to see if what you were talking about earlier comes to fruition, and maybe Eboigbe, buoyed a bit by the claret that he's just seen coming from the eye there, might just think, you know what, I'll up it a bit for this last 2 rounds. I don't know whether that was a head clash or whether that was a punch. It was kind of impossible to tell, really.
I think you're right about it being the eyelid, though.
Corners,
it looks like
10 seconds.
That's where Mervyn Turner's working on.
Seconds out. Round 5.
We've got the adrenaline solution and the cotton bud and then the Vaseline on it. So all the requisite tools of the trade have been employed.
Just looking to let his hands go there, Eboigbe, and was slightly open to a right hand. When he steps in and throws those straight punches, he looks like a class fighter. That's what he's really good at. But I think Paraschiv will welcome this. I think he really will, won't he? Because it gives him a better chance, and that was some old school wrestling tactics there, and he's gone down heavy there, Eboigbe, and he could have hurt himself there. And you see a bit of blood going down the front of the nose there of Paraschiv. I don't know if that's new or whether that's transfer from the existing cut. I think it's transfer from the cut, but the referee's just had a word with the pair of them there. I think quite lucky that he just walked away from that without any injury, Eboigbe, because if he had had one, then Paraschiv could have been in trouble.
And we saw a little bit of that sort of strength, kickboxing strength, lower body strength of Paraschiv. He was able to use that.
But Eboigbe definitely looks like he's come to mix it a bit more in these final 2 rounds.
Yeah, well, he tried to come forward midway through that. Whether he's just been timing it sort of second half of the fight, landed his own left hand there, whether it's a case of let's just build through the fight bit by bit by bit, and second half he was always going to pick it up because he's looking to get on the front foot. Heads just coming a little close together there.
He just kind of stumbled in there, Paraschiv. It was a bit clumsy. He had his hands up, but his balance had gone, and he almost let it happen. If Eboigbe could have just taken a half step out, he could have caught him coming forward.
Just eating a couple of jabs as well, Andy, isn't he?
Is he feeling the pace a bit here, do you think, Paraschiv? I think he might be, because the mouth is slightly open. He's put plenty into this. And the corner of Eboigbe are really telling him to bring it now.
And I think because it's been such a think fest, I think he's constantly having to work out what's the right move, what should I do, where should I be going, where's he going, what is he doing. And maybe that's as tiring as anything else. And the referees just have been called into action a bit more through the last minute or so.
And the corner just really want Eboigbe just to take it to him, to step in and let his own hands go. And the problem with this kind of situation, I guess, is that this isn't what he normally does. It's just not really in your DNA after a certain point.
Heads close together again, but Paraschiv complaining to the referee. I'll tell you what he has done really well, Paraschiv. It is probably indicative, really, of sort of less thought, more just react, is when they're twisting and turning in the exchanges. His instinct has been good. That's when he's landed a couple of sort of corkscrew shots and a couple of hooks, because he just reacted to what's in front of him as opposed to trying to build little platforms and go through the drills.
Well, this is the most aggressive that we've seen Eboigbe in the fight up until this point, and it's probably the closest round that we've had, because in terms of the scoring of this, those first 4 you'd say were Paraschiv rounds, because he was on the front foot, he was making the action, he probably landed the greater volume of punches as well, which is obviously the thing that really matters. But Eboigbe's gone after it, hasn't he? And I expect to see him do the same in the final round.
Yeah, when it's actually got a little bit more chaotic in those exchanges, it's actually when I think Paraschiv has actually looked his best, and that probably says that in those reactive moments he just let his boxing take over.
Corners, 10
A
seconds.
lot to be said for that tonight about maybe thinking too much.
Seconds out, 6 and final round.
Here we go then, into the 6th and final round. No doubt, Elliot Eboigbe has been a bit of a puzzle tonight for Paraschiv. Probably frustrated him a little bit. Obviously, the cut. So a few things. Let's not forget, 10th professional fight for Paraschiv. He's got a lot of combat experience. 7 or so years of it from the kickboxing days.
He didn't have his gum shield in. Came out for the start of the round without his gum shield in.
Yeah, who needs them? Overrated. But although he's got all that kind of combat experience to fall back on, he is still relatively a novice in boxing, making his way. So never quite been the moments for his fans to make their presence felt tonight. They're trying to will him on in this final round.
It'll be interesting to see, won't it, what they do with him next, because like you said, he hasn't had that many pro fights, but in terms of overall experience, he's got plenty, and I don't think he really needs any more fights where he goes in there expected to win, like he is here. I think he needs a good 50-50 test, and Johnny Clark, you know, he's got a good history of that, hasn't he? I think there's plenty of people he could throw this guy in with, and we'd see a very, very entertaining fight.
Well, I wonder if maybe in another 4 or 5 fights, Daniel Crotter is making his way, whether that's the kind of fight they could make, whether they could push them together. But as a rule, the British, and certainly again, the British welterweight scene is pretty competitive with layers to it, so there'll be plenty of options. Oh, nice right hand. And then a little bit of the rugged non-essentials from Paraschiv.
He's landed that right hand a couple of times in the final round, where he dips off to his left-hand side and kind of flings it over the top.
Never quite been able to pin Eboigbe down, has he? But throughout, all the telling shots, all the eye-catching shots have been landed by Paraschiv.
Without question, he's won this fight. There's no issue there at all, and he's worked hard all the way through as well. So it's been a worthwhile outing for him, and right up until the bell there, he's trying to get the stoppage. They both raise their glove at the end of the fight, but
maybe not.
It was entertaining, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe not quite the style of opponent that he was looking for, and the kind of show that maybe he wanted to put on, the kind of statement that maybe he wanted to make. But it's a fight that I think he'll probably have learned plenty from, compared to something else that he could have been dished up tonight. And as regards Eboigbe, I mean, he's going to be in the matchmaker's black book, isn't he? Because there's going to be cuter fighters, maybe more skilled amateurs who will have some tricks up their sleeve, who'll know how to ask the right questions of Eboigbe, but certainly the matchmakers and managers will think, well, he's a guy who's going to give us some rounds, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he turned pro last May, so that's 11 pro fights already. He could get 2 or 3 more in the
Ladies and
In the years
gentlemen,
he's
after
turning over
6
easy.
rounds of boxing, we go to the referee scorecard. Referee Mark Bates scores the bout 58-56. And your winner, still undefeated, Amansio, the Viking Paraschiv.
2 points, 2 rounds, 4-2 in the end for Paraschiv, who gets it done. Had to kind of huff and puff tonight, but unfortunately he got the win, he got paid. Let's not forget, that's part of the business, and now he can spend a bit of time tonight with his friends, family, and plenty of his fans are here tonight, and maybe shout out a few of the British welterweights that he wants to get down to mix it with.
And the cut looks like it's okay as well, doesn't it, actually, because it didn't open up too much after they got to work on it in the corner, so that will probably keep him out for a little while, but not necessarily any longer than he would have been out for anyway, to be honest. 4-2 on the card. I don't think you could, that's the absolute maximum you could give Eboigbe is 2 rounds there, I think.
Yeah, I suppose there was a paucity of punches landed, wasn't there, in the first couple of rounds. But he had his moments, Eboigbe. But Johnny Clark will be hoping this story continues, because he sells a bundle of tickets, this fella. He's always high up on the list when it comes to shifting the lolly. So, always popular with the money men. And he'll be popular with his fans when he gets the W and they can celebrate into Sunday night. He's going to tell us now with that alley.
You moved to 10-0. What a fight we have just witnessed. How did it feel being involved?
Yeah, it was a southpaw opponent. I was struggling a lot because last week I didn't feel too good. I catch a cold, but it is what it is. It's not the best performance for me. I'm looking forward for better. But I want to thank my people. Românii mei, prietenii mei, frații mei, vă iubesc, vă mulțumesc că sunteți alături de mine și de cariera mea. Thank you for my people, so moving forward now. Yeah.
Do you feel like that was the toughest test of your career so far?
No, not at all, no. But was a southpaw opponent. I didn't train too much with the southpaw partner, but yeah, we're looking forward.
So now you're 10-0. In the build-up to this, you spoke about bigger fights to come. Is it a step up next?
Yeah, we're gonna sit, me and Merv, who are looking for me, and we'll see what's coming for.
Well, let's bring Merv in. Come in. Fantastic fight for the fans to see.
That was a great, that was a fan-friendly fight, wasn't it? John says a bit of MMA as well.
Yeah, you had a bit of everything in there. And what is next? Now 10-0, is this the stage where you push on with him?
Yeah, now we want to push on, do proper camps and push on up the rankings. And it's going to be tough fights from now on. So, you know, that was a good setup. And now it's pushing on.
Well, your supporters in here, you were the biggest ticket seller tonight. They raised the roof. You have to give a final word to them.
Like always, Romanian, they are very tough. We are the best country in this world. Let's go, Romania! Vă iubesc!
Well done, fantastic performance.
Thank you very much.